Now, in tonight's Trump Effect, the president's legal immigration plan. With an eye on next year's election, and the White House is trying to flip the script on an issue where President Trump has been incredibly divisive.
We want these exceptional students and workers to stay and flourish and thrive in America.
The Trump administration would do that by dramatically changing who gets priority to come into this country. Preference going to highly skilled workers, people with advanced education, and those with English proficiency instead of people with family ties.
The system will finally be fair, transparent, and promote equality and opportunity for all.
Senior administration officials say one goal is to show the president is not against immigrants, but in favor of legal immigration. But it was just a month ago that Mr. Trump said this.
Our country's full. We're full. Our system's full. Our country is full. Can't come in. Our country is full.
Joining the conversation tonight on the Great Immigration Debate is Democratic strategist and managing partner at Boots Road Group, Spencer Critchley, and Jennifer Breeden, legal analyst and president at Breeden Law International. We thank you so much both for being here. Jennifer, I want to start with you. Speaker Pelosi's already saying that this is dead on arrival. She was pretty fired up, railing against the plan because it's merit-based. So what are the merits of merit-based immigration?
Well, I mean, the merits, again, you know, we're still waiting for the details of this to be proposed. But the first thing that I would ask is where is Representative Pelosi's plan herself? Where is Pelosi's plan? Where's the Democrats' plan? They keep saying no and no to things, that they're for immigration, yet they have produced absolutely no plan to fix the immigration issue. Both parties agree that there is an issue on the border, and we need to discuss that. In terms of the merits, to look at merit-based, I think we need to look at Trump's words. He used those very carefully, and again, we're still waiting to see the details of this plan, but he used the words, we want people to stay with English proficiency, college educations, job offers, and so that actually may in turn end up helping some of the dreamers or these children arrivals who are proficient in English, who don't know the language that they were brought in as children under, and so we don't know, this may end up solving a lot of issues that both parties can agree are very important, but there are merits to this. This is a bipartisan issue, that immigration needs to be overhauled, that people are waiting, that people are stuck, that people have been in limbo, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and I think Trump is at least putting forward a step or a plan to try and do that.
All right, let's get to Spencer. I want your reaction to the whole shift away from family immigration, and are there aspects of this plan that you do agree with from what we know so far?
Well, I think that the thing that we always have to bear in mind is really that nothing the president proposes is proposed in good faith. And I think it's very easy to get lost in our habitual assumption that a president is actually proposing policies that he's thought through and that he thinks has some kind of set of principles behind them. President Trump is a notorious demagogue. He identifies with other demagogues, such as Viktor Orban from Hungary, who he just invited to the White House this week and welcomed as a good buddy. This proposal is purely electioneering. Nobody could possibly believe that the man who built his political career on the racist birther lie and announced his candidacy by calling all Mexicans murderers and rapists, and did the Muslim ban and tried to scare us at the midterms with a caravan supposedly full of ISIS fighters and lepers, is suddenly interested in some kind of serious immigration reform. And there have been efforts at immigration reform, serious efforts, in fact, coming from both parties in many cases, going back many, many years. They can continually get shot down. And Trump, unfortunately, is not the first Republican to do that. I know from talking to members of Congress that Republicans of goodwill were punished if they ever sat down with Democrats during the Obama administration to talk about making any progress whatsoever, and they just couldn't. They were forbidden.
Jennifer, there were a lot of shots fired in that answer right there. Do you want to respond?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, when we're talking about caravans, this wasn't something that Trump concocted. There were actually reports from Central and South American officials, government officials, intelligence officials, that there were extremist fighters that were coming, that were within these caravans. I mean, these were actual intelligence reports from foreign sources. So, I mean, that's the first thing. This wasn't concocted by Trump in order to scare people. I mean, there was plenty of footage, plenty of sources on this. Second of all, when we're talking about immigration reform that is necessary, I don't think think anybody would argue that there are people that truly do need answers, that truly do need help. And at least this is a plan put forward. Yes, plans have been shut down, but I think the problem is that when we just immediately go and assume Trump's motivations as if we're in his brain and know what he's thinking. I mean, this has been proposed by an economic advisor. This has been proposed, Kushner, several people on the advisory board on Trump's, as part of Trump's advisors, have thought this plan through, have thought about this, and they're at least trying to do something. I think the main problem right now in America, and this does include either people that are already in the country or wanting to come to the country, is the fact that we're so unwilling to work with each other just because it has Trump's name attached to it or Trump uttered it out of his mouth,
Jennifer.
And we don't even want to sit around a table, discuss it, or provide another option.
All right, this is a question for both of you. The Trump administration wants to tackle the issue of dreamers and the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the country illegally now at a later date. So is that something that should really be a precursor to the rollout of a new immigration plan? Is that something that should be addressed first, perhaps? Spencer, start with you.
Well, certainly. I mean, you know, any kind of substance would be welcome. This is essentially a PowerPoint presentation and a campaign platform. Even Lindsey Graham, who has distinguished himself as one of the president's most enthusiastic cheerleaders in a complete 180 from the primary, said immediately this plan was not intended to become law. There is no bill. Jared Kushner apparently, reportedly, when he spoke before the Republican caucus yesterday, the Republicans left very frustrated by the lack of substance, and Stephen Miller, the president's hardliner on immigration, repeatedly was interrupting him and correcting him. There is no substance to this. And in terms of whether we can work together, again, I think we have to step back. This administration acts in utterly bad faith. They change their stories dramatically from one day to the next.
Spencer, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off here, but I just want to give Jennifer a chance to respond as well here. Jennifer, should this address DACA and the undocumented immigrants already here now?
I do think it should address DACA. I do think it should address the undocumented immigrants, especially since so many of them were brought here as one-year-old infants, children that had absolutely no choice, no intent to violate any laws, and most of them don't even speak the native language of the country they're from. They're Americans full and through, so I do think this should be addressed, and I think it will be addressed if there's a good faith effort on both sides to come to the table.
All right, Jennifer Breeden and Spencer Critchley, thank you. Stateside continues after the break with